Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Energy to Heal podcast. My name is Laura. I'm the host here, and we are talking about all things Splankna. We share testimony stories, and we talk about the theology and the science behind this amazing modality that has not only changed my family's life, but thousands of other people's lives, and we're here for all of it. So today, I have my friend Sarah Yentes on. She is a 13-year friend of mine. How many of you have friends that have been around for over a decade? It is a gift because we've seen each other through so many different seasons of life. She is coming to talk about her experience with Splankna. She has had the Lord really heal some things inside of her with this modality, and she was my first ever client when I was fresh out of core training. She's got some incredible stories. The most incredible she's going to share at the very end about her son who was in a significant car accident this year and how Splankna was able to help him heal from that. What I really would like you to pick up from this conversation is she is a powerhouse of a woman. She and I are very, very, very good friends and very, very opposite of each other. And so I'm excited to let you hear Splankna from her perspective. We're going to jump right into it. So here is Sarah Yentes. Let's go all the way back. I am losing track. I think it's been 4 years since I got trained. I think this fall is 4 years for me.
I think that's right because I base it on when I got my implant for my leg pain. And that was, yeah, that's tracks. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what do you remember? Laura, you're
so
like...
you came to me and I was amazed originally. Okay. I'm going to track back even further because I was around you for all the years and times that Noah was struggling. And I watched how you struggled alongside of him and just lost for answers. And Mason took him for this Splankna session, and I didn't even think anything of it because honestly, it sounded a little wackadoo. So I just dismissed it. I'm like, okay, great. Parents are just needing some help. But then you guys came over to my house for like a pool party, and I was like, what the heck? Like, Noah is a different kid. I'm like, he went from being, oh no, what's going on to, I think he might be, don't let your other kids hear this, I love you all, he might be your best behaved kid all of a sudden. It's like, what happened? And you kind of told me about it.
Made me cry the most.
Yes.
The chillest, go with the flow.
Yes.
Still, out of all of them.
Still, just, it's been amazing. So then you were going to get trained in it. And I still was like, okay, skeptical, but also, I think I said originally, anytime I get to spend with you, I'm there. I'm your ride or die. Whatever you want to do, try, learn, I'm with you. I love to see what you come up with because relationships and healing is so huge for you. And during that time, I was also, 24/7 on the verge of tears, and I had no idea why. Why am I at...
Which is not normal for you. You are
not normal. I am not an emotional person.
No.
Yeah. And I could not stop. Like, my gosh, if I dropped a paperclip, I'd be like, I just was not okay.
Like commercials would come on that would make you cry. And you're like, it's like I'm pregnant all over again.
I know.
I cannot stop crying.
Yeah. And it's like Liberty Mutual. So it was just not a normal reaction to life. And it just felt like I was on hyperdrive of flight or fight constantly. And so you're like, can we try this? Absolutely. So we had our first session, both of us kind of like not knowing what was going to happen. And to give everyone a little bit of background, it's been, 11 years since I had a pretty catastrophic break in my leg where like my whole tibia turned to dust, like they had to recreate bone and concrete and wires and rods and screws. I was in a wheelchair for almost up to a year, miserable. And because of that trauma, I developed a nerve disease, complex regional pain syndrome, where I was replaying my accident 24/7. So I was in horrific pain all the time and was looking to do this kind of crazy new spinal implant that was newer technology, and I was terrified. And so, I mean, no surprise, we did our session of whatever needs to come up, and it was my leg accident. And I don't think either of us were shocked by that. And we're going through all of these things. And here's my favorite part of Splankna. I don't remember what any of those things are, because when you release them, you also forget about it, which is such a gift. But I do remember when we got to the forgiveness part, it was like a dam broke and all of the waters just flooded. And it had basically boiled down to, I had to forgive myself, and I couldn't say those words out loud. And I didn't realize that was my hang up.
Yeah, I remember telling you like, hey, what's coming up in the session is you actually need to make a forgiveness statement towards yourself. And so I like nonchalantly just kind of led you in that forgiveness statement, and you opened your mouth and no words came out. And then you lost it.
I lost
it. And you're like, I can't say it. I can't forgive myself. And then we really camped out there for a little bit.
Yeah. Because I kind of felt like I deserved to suffer in silence because I did this. It was my pride, my stupidity that got me in this place. And I literally, from that day forward, I had no more tears. Like, I was okay. I could normally respond to life. I could be more present in the moment. I could react rationally to things. And I did not realize how much it was holding me hostage. And I think when you're also in that place, the rest of your life, the rest of your emotions can lie to you, and you don't even know what's factual, what's not. And it was a true gift of re-entering and participating in my own life with a clear mind, heart, and head. And it was just mind-blowing. And from day one, I was like, done, sold. This is unlike anything else I've ever experienced. So.
Yeah. And I just want to recap, like, I've got a lot of new people on the podcast right now because I'm going to take a little bit of a sidestep here. But so if you guys haven't seen any of my TikTok videos, we have a son who's going through some unexplained medical stuff right now. Like, he can't walk without significant support right now. And there's no reason, we can't figure out why. So I've been putting videos on TikTok about that, trying to it's been amazing. Pediatric doctors have been reaching out to me, podiatrists, chiropractors, physical therapists, and we have a lot of new people here because those videos are kind of crossing over to the podcast. So if that's you and you're new here, I just want to give a brief description of what we're talking about. Splankna is this thing that changed my son's life, as you heard Sarah say. It's like, basically, it's a faith-based protocol. It's kind of like therapy, but not at all like talk therapy. It's for your right side of your brain. Your right side of your brain is where your emotions are processed, your creativity, and your subconscious mind is. And when you go through something traumatic like Sarah did, your brain has a tendency to freeze in that trauma, or you have these emotions that you feel, but since it's so overwhelming, you just shove them instead of process them. And then those shoved emotions can act like triggers, or it can just change. Trauma has a way of just changing the way that you show up in the world. It changes the way you treat yourself or people, the way you act. And so Splankna is a way of taking something like a symptom of, I can't stop crying and I don't know why. And then we ask the Lord, okay, where did this start? Why is it that she can't stop crying? And in a Splankna session, the Lord will bring you to a memory or a moment, and he'll say, this is where it started. This is why you can't stop crying. And we're able to clear that out in Splankna so that we can hopefully return that right side of the brain, that your body's nervous system, back to what it was before the trauma happened. So, Sarah, your example is like super practical. You shattered your leg, obvious trauma, makes so much sense why you would have tears brimming at the surface. And honestly, that's like my favorite thing. If someone says, if I talk about X, Y, and Z, I will cry. I cannot talk about it without crying. At least so far, I have never worked on somebody yet that has said that where the tears haven't stopped after a Splankna
Right.
session. Like for whatever reason, Splankna is so good for that. But I would love to go back to our very first session, which was a little bit more abstract. And
That was our second. Our very first one was my leg.
oh, was it?
It was.
Okay, so our second one then was the more abstract.
Yes.
Because the crazy thing is, and this was new for me 4 years ago when I was like, Sarah, I don't know what I'm doing. Can I do a practice session on you so I can learn? And like the age that came up for what we needed to work on was something when you were born. And I was like, no, there's no way. Like my understanding of the subconscious, I didn't understand that the subconscious remembers everything you've ever been through, even before conscious memory kicks in.
Yeah.
And the subconscious memories are still affecting you as an adult. Like that was so wild for me to grasp.
Yeah.
So can you share what you remember of that story a little bit?
Yeah, I remember as soon as you said, so it's like in utero, I'm like, what are we doing? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, whatever. But then it was this, I don't remember, I think I had like sympathy for someone and I assumed, well, it must be my mom. All I know, she was in labor for like 42 hours or something astronomical like that. And then it ended up in an emergency C-section. So to me, having to had C-sections myself, it just seemed like, oh, it's a pretty quick, easy surgery. Well, it's not easy. The recovery's hell. But that's all I knew is that I was born C-section. It was a little bit of an emergency, but to me, it was no big deal.
No big deal.
All of my sympathy, my trauma was attached to my dad in this session. And I was like, what the heck? I never even thought that my dad would be a part of my in utero trauma. And I think
you probably never thought, how could I have picked up on someone else's,
Right.
been affected by someone else's pain as a newborn?
And I have never talked to my dad about the day I was born. I was always asking my mom the story, but so I literally called my dad and said, I've never asked you what was my birth like for you. And he honestly had tears and he goes, no one's ever asked me that. It was the worst day of my life. And I go, explain. And he goes, your mom was in so much pain. She was screaming out, dear God, just take the baby, kill me. I don't care. I can't do this anymore. And before he knew it, she was in an emergency. I was in an emergency, and it was turning life or death. And I did not realize that. And all of a sudden, my mom was whisked away. My dad knew I was born later, but it was just this moment of pure terror of, I might lose both. My wife's crying out to like, please just kill me now. He goes, it was the worst time of my life. I thought I could lose everything. And I was just like, wow, I'm really sorry you went through that. And honestly, my dad and I have always been super close, but I think that kind of even bonded us in a way where I could see things from his point of view in a way I hadn't before. But also, I think one of the emotions attached to it was I will never allow other people to be hurt because of my circumstances. And it's no surprise that one of my first sentences that was in my baby book was, I do it myself. It was super independent. And I believe the vow I made was, I don't need anybody for me to be okay, or no one else needs to suffer because of me, something like that. And it made me so fiercely independent where I did not think I could rely on other people. And it almost made it harder for me to attach or bring people into my pain or my needs.
So I'll do it myself. I don't need anyone is code for I'm all alone and I have nobody close to me. And who knows, we'll never know what effect all of that session had on you in the long run. But I do feel like in the, what, is it 10 years that we've known each other? 12 years? I don't know.
Girl, it's been 13.
13 years. I mean, you really are a different version of yourself. Like And you've stepped into leadership. You've become the director of nursing. You have learned, I have watched you evolve into someone who does depend on people in an amazingly loving, encouraging, supporting way. You aren't an isolated person. You're like everybody's favorite person. And who knows? I'm not saying
love
that's
people.
all because of Splankna, but you are a different person than you were 13 years ago.
Well, we even did like personalysis at work, and one of the colors is collaboration with other people, and my yellow was off the charts. I'm like, that is not who I used to be. I mean,
Wow.
you were always an inclusionary type person. The more the merrier. And I'm like, I don't know you. Like,
Yeah.
you're not in my group. I like
Yeah.
small. And now I'm like, let's do it all. Everybody, come on. So it really has, yeah, I agree. I've drastically changed in that way. I also think, man, if I wouldn't have been so fiercely independent, would I have dropped that floor sander on my leg? I don't know. Like,
Who knows?
yeah, whatever. Domino
The other
effect.
thing I love talking to about Splankna to you, for one, because you are like just as excited and passionate about it as I am because you've done it, but you are naturally skeptical and you're just not the person who's like, oh, great, let's try it. You're like, you are going to question it, dig in deep. You're going to assume nothing. And I love for people to hear that because that to me speaks louder than anything than if you were just this like, let's try everything kind of person.
Well, and on the flip side, being a skeptical person, when I buy in all the way. So once I've been proven like, no, this is legit, I'm like, I'm there. I'm all in. Let's do it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this has been such an amazing gift and a journey. And I don't think that me or my family would be where we are without it, without even you doing this work yourself. Like it's a little scary to think where I'd be without this.
So you've also, okay, I'm just kind of like going through the years together. I remember this, we can just touch on this one briefly, but you were going through some personal stuff and you were just you had so many Splankna conversations with me at this point. You just know how it works. And you're like, Laura, I have had a migraine right here in my temple for, I don't know, weeks. And I know it has to be something emotionally based because I can just tell this is not normal for me. I never get migraines here and I can't escape it. It's here every day. And I think it's related to the stress that I'm going through in my personal life. And so we just did kind of like a really quick, like, all right, let's see if there's anything there. And
you said that so more eloquently than I did. You gave me so much more credit. We were literally at work and I go, this pain right here won't go away. Get it out.
yeah, like, that sounds more like you. You're like, let's go. Come on.
Let's get out of here.
There's benefits to working.
Got stuff to do.
So just to clarify, Sarah and we worked as nurses together for 11 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now I've quit my job as a nurse and now I do Splankna instead, which is a whole nother episode. But that's our background together. So we were working as nurses together and working shifts together. And she was like, hey, if we had any slow time today, can we do a Splankna session?
Yes.
And then what happened to your headache?
Instantly gone.
Yeah. So it's crazy because Splankna is not just like, it's not just spiritual. It's not just like bringing things to Jesus, asking where things started, which it is that. But it's also combined with these modalities that are used in just regular, like non-faith-based therapy settings. Like it has an EMDR component to it. It has an EFT and an NET component to it that are just things people use in human psychology that are known to help you kind of like retrain your brain, heal your brain from traumatic things or suppressed emotions that are taking you out. Mm-hmm. So I think the combination of it is a holistic thing. It's your body, your soul, and it brings in the spiritual aspect. And I think it's like you're just covering all the bases. So it goes so deep and has so much potential to just help people get out of those ruts.
Well, even like you talked about, it's in the right side of the brain, and that part remembers everything as it actually happened. But what happens, I think, in personal life, why sometimes Splankna with talk therapy is great, but talk therapy alone sometimes might not be helpful, because we may have talked through the issues, or we have muddied those memories, or we're assuming, I think this is what happened, I can't remember quite, or your narrative completely changes. You become the victim, or you become, you muddle your own memories. The beauty of this is it gets to the root of the event and clears it, so you don't have to try to figure it out. Because I think we do change history with experiences and then conversations that we might have, and letting other people's opinions filter in it. Yeah, it's a gift in that way.
Yeah, that makes me think, like, people will say talk therapy only goes so far for me.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys go back and listen to the episode right before this, I interviewed this woman named Dana Hernandez, and she works at Brain Balance. And the whole episode, she talks about what trauma does to the brain and how it halts the brain, it freezes the brain gets stuck in trauma. And she said it mostly affects the right side of your brain. That's the part that needs the most healing, which we address in somatic healing. With Splankna, it addresses the subconscious, which is in the right side of the brain. Left brain typically doesn't get as affected by trauma, but talk therapy is out of the left brain. So it is very helpful to go to talk therapy. You can get lots of revelations about yourself and why you do what you do. You can learn amazing new tools in talk therapy. But trying to heal trauma, true trauma, just by talking about it can only go so far, because what are you doing with the right side of your brain? That's the one that's struggling the most. I thought that was so interesting.
I think you just handed me the most beautiful softball you've ever given me, because the next thing I think we're going to talk about is my most exciting favorite topic with Splankna.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. You're welcome.
Because I geek out about this. And you just talked about, this brain balance specialist, and I literally have medical proof of the impact of Splankna. And I love to tell everyone this story.
And you're my only person that can ever say this. I've never had this happen before.
Right. Because it's just, the odds are so small. Do you want me to get into it, or is there certain things you would?
I want you to get into it.
Okay, I'm going to get into it. So this past February, my son was in a pretty horrific accident where he was rear-ended on a snowy, icy day at full speed by a semi. And his head and neck were hit pretty hard. Fast forward, it was a traumatic brain injury. He lost years of memory. He lost his ability to retain short-term memories. It was his junior year of high school, like ACTs, calculus, all these things. He could not go from learning in class 10 minutes later to do homework because nothing would stick in his brain. And emotions were hard to process. So we went into this brain injury neurologist specialist, and he has this tool where you can measure the reaction of pupils to show brain activity. And on our very first visit, he did both the left and right eye. And he goes, okay, left is not great. It's working, but it's really sluggish. It's having a hard time, which is that left side of the brain. And he goes, but here's what's a little scary to me. There is no read on the right pupil. When you flash it with light, it constricts fully and it never redilated. He goes, that is showing me the right side of the brain is not functioning. There's no read on this. And he goes, let me even show you what this looks like physically. And I was like, okay. So he had him stand on a foam. He goes, close your eyes, turn to the left. And he was a little wobbly, but fine. He goes, okay, recenter, close your eyes, turn to the right, which signals for the right brain to take over. He did that. He fell to the ground in an instant. I was like, what the heck? And he goes, the right side of his brain is pretty damaged. We've got to do a lot of therapy to try to wake this part up and whatnot. And it was, weeks and weeks and months of doing this therapy. And we were getting a little bit better, a little bit better. It was really slow results, which when you have that catastrophic of a brain injury is pretty standard. And also with the right side of the brain, that is your emotional. So there were days that he was almost catatonic. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
He wouldn't eat. At the end of this, I think he lost up to 35, 40 pounds, and he's a lean guy. He didn't have weight to lose. I was literally losing my son in front of my eyes, and it was terrifying and tremendously hard. And when he was valedictorian of his class, he was lead trumpet in jazz groups, and he was losing everything. Relationships were a struggle. He lost so much, and that's even hard for the right brain to keep healing or doing better when you have such emotional stress on top of the physical stress. And it was, he just was not making waves. And so I finally just said, okay, dude, you got to do Splankna with Laura. And he was just like, it's hard for him to be vulnerable with much other than me. And he finally relented. Okay, I obviously need some help. And it was a pretty powerful, heavy hitting session because he's like, no, I'm fine. But there are like 7 things that popped up. And he's like, yep, nope, that tracks. We had his neurology appointment maybe an hour and a half after his Splankna session. Every week we go in, we do this pupil test. So we're doing this pupil test. And John does the left, and it's still progressing, doing great. And then he does his right. And he literally goes, what in the world have you been doing? And Isaac's like, what? And he goes, your right side, which has been in the black, barely responding for months, is off the charts.
Oh,
he goes, it is overcompensating, opened up in a way that now we have to calm it back down because we have so much activity. What in the world have you been doing? And in his 18-year-old brain, he goes, well, I've been playing more golf. I'm like, are you kidding me? We just left Splankna where it's right side work.
It must be the golf, though.
It must be the golf. I'm like, dude, you've been golfing for months. That is not a golf game. And he's like, well, whatever this was, you've unlocked something. And now we can work with the right side of your brain in a way we haven't been, so we can calm it back down instead of have to wake it up. He's like, something unlocked. And I was like, well, I don't know what it is. I know. And it was just, I was so excited to call you and say, you will never guess what happened today. And we were just in awe. And we've seen it from this other side, but to be able to actually measure the brain activity after that was a gift. It was extraordinary.
Oh my gosh. I cry every time you tell me that story.
Yeah.
It makes me think like, so many people, understandably, including myself, including you, are so skeptical. Like these Splankna sessions are generally pretty chill. They're not crazy. They're not intense. It's like, that's it.
Yeah.
I hope that helps. And you just are like, really? That's me healing my trauma? Okay. It's so gentle.
Yeah.
Is a good word for it. And it's hard to believe that something that simple could make such a difference in somebody. And so wouldn't it just be so cool if we had $1 million and we could do some sort of like consistent study, like before and afters of people coming in and getting, I don't even know what that would be, but stuff like this, brain scans, brain activity, right brain, left brain, before and after a Splankna session. Like I think the nurses in us that's why we geek out about it, because this is combining emotional freedom, spiritual growth and health, and trauma recovery with the nursing brain scan. I want to measure it. I want to see it on a graph.
Yeah.
Versions of us in our trainings. So good.
Yeah.
So good. So you're one of my friends that like when something really cool happens in Splankna, I call and tell you about it because I know you will you get it and you freak out and get excited about it with me.
Well, and I'm also the friend who has referred so many people. And then because they know me personally, they tell me, oh my gosh, my life has changed. I even get a little possessive because they're like, Laura is the best person ever. I love her so much. She has changed my family. I'm like, she's my friend. Back off. She's your Splankna therapist. But I get to hear all of these other sides of all these other people who are like, I cannot believe how much this changed my life. Like, thank you for referring me on because my family is healing in a way that we haven't been able to in years. And yeah, it's exciting.
Cool. Yeah, it is cool because as the practitioner, it's not uncommon for people come, they sit in your chair, you spend an hour with Jesus, it's powerful, it's amazing, it's beautiful, and then they are gone and then you see the next client and you just move on.
Mm-hmm.
And you hearing those stories and then repeating them to me like, hey, I heard it's going great. I heard that massive healing is happening and people are getting set free and they're loving their time. And I'm like, really? Great. I didn't know any of that. Because it's kind of like, I imagine it like, when you have a headache and it's like ruining your day and you can't focus on anything else. But then you take like a Tylenol and the headache eventually kind of goes away, but you can't really remember the moment it went away. And you're just like, oh, yeah, I guess I don't have a headache anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like that is a phenomenon I see in Splankna a lot is like the Lord does a work, they leave, their anger, low self-esteem, panic, whatever their symptom is, lessens or loses its grip. And sometimes I've even had people come back for their second session, their third session, and I'm like, okay, so how are you doing? And they're like, good. I don't know if I really see a big difference from last week yet, but I'm doing good. And I'll go through my notes and I'll be like, okay, so you're still having to take your PRN anxiety meds like 4 to 5 times a week, right? And they'll be like, oh, no, I haven't done that this week. And I'll be like, okay, but you're still not able to sleep at night because your mind is racing so much, right? Well, not this week. I guess I've been sleeping pretty good. It's like,
And you're like, I know.
I'm like, okay. So instead of being like, it's working, I'm like, okay, so it's a possibility that maybe our session last week was starting some breakthrough for you.
I love how gentle and kind you are guiding them through. I'm like, are you kidding me, girl?
I know. I would love to see if you were a practitioner, the difference between me leading a session and you leading a session.
Believe you me, I've thought about it because it's that powerful.
Our friendship is kind of comical to me and to you. I know we've talked about this. So it's just like, we are not the same person, but we complement each other so nicely.
Yep.
Yep.
You're there to smooth everything out. I'm there to protect and defend. It's just great.
Yeah, exactly.
It's perfect.
I know. We can conquer the world with those two traits. I remember 13 years ago, you met me when I did not know how to stick up for myself or say anything contrary to anyone else's desires or opinions. And I just remember when you said, Laura, no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
You just, if someone says, hey, can you do this for me? You just say no.
I'm unavailable.
I was like, Sarah, how do I can't just say no. You
try.
You absolutely can. 10 years later, I think that's still the most brilliant thing anyone's ever said to me.
Yeah. Well, and also just the gift of you've got to leave your schedule open because you never know what's going to happen. And you want to be available for your people in their time of need. And as a mom of 5 children, very busy, like your time is your most valuable gift. And I think you have learned no, I need to be a protector of my time so that I can say yes when I need to and want to instead of have to.
Yeah. I might need bi-monthly meetings with you to help reinforce all that in my brain.
So there.
I learn it. And then 2 months later, I'm like, how do I keep up with my life? Oh yeah. Sarah says I can just say no.
No.
Yeah, but honestly, you are such a good balance to me. What I love about you is I have always been this smiley, soft, kind of passive. At times I've been a doormat, and my work is to learn how to stand stronger and toughen up and open my mouth and speak up for me and my people. And I have learned how to do that by hanging out with you. Like, do you remember that one? I'm sure you do. We went out to breakfast and we had said,
I know exactly
we
what
were
you're
like,
talking about.
it was like the best thing I've ever experienced because it's so countercultural for me. You know, like I'm typically like, don't stir the pot, keep everybody happy, just everything's fine. And we both said, let's go out to lunch or to breakfast. And what did we say? How did we
You
word it?
brought this up because you had heard it on a podcast where it was the Enneagram thing. And it said, if you have an 8 in your life, which is me, the challenger, ask them the question, what's something I might not know about myself? And so you're like, I'm asking you that. And I go, well, let's do
that's
it to each other. I need to know too. Challenge me. I respect challenge. And I remember because we had booked it like 2 weeks out and you took the whole 2 weeks and you were like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to say this. I'm like, I have my answer right now. Let's go. And I was so excited and you were so terrified. And it was the best breakfast ever.
And I almost canceled because I couldn't handle the anxiety.
Yep.
And it wasn't because I was anxious about what you were going to say about me. It was I was anxious I was going to hurt your feelings by telling you something that you didn't know about
Not when you
yourself.
told me the truth. I needed it. It was good.
Yeah. It was kind of a pivotal moment of like core friendship that goes deep, that is like, hey, we can say things to each other that aren't pretty all the time. We don't have to just be surface level. We can be honest with each other. We can work through hard things. It kind of set a precedence for like any future times where something was off between our friendship. Like we could just get on the phone and talk about the awkward and talk about the hurt and work through it. And it's like you have to learn how to do that with friends if you're going to have 10-year-long friendships.
Yeah.
Because your alternative is you never tell them when they hurt your feelings. You never really get to be real with each other. You're only friends with the shiny, happy versions of each other. And the depth of that friendship only goes so deep.
Well, and it's exhausting because you have to be that person in that friend's presence forever. You don't actually get to be yourself. Like that's, ugh.
Oh, that's true.
got
So then
time
you're
for that.
performing instead of just existing. And then being with people feels like a job instead of a gift.
That's another beautiful segue into Splankna, where you literally just get to show up and just tap in rather than have to process and think through and do some of the work. Because even like with Isaac's session with you, he didn't want to be vulnerable. He didn't want to share. He literally said yes or no to you.
Yeah. Well,
And
that was the only way he would agree to do the
Yeah.
session. I said, what if I promise that you don't have to
Say
speak
a
any
word.
sentences?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said,
And he didn't have to. And that was such a gift because when he left, he felt lighter, not exhausted. And yeah, that's also, I think, something listeners would love to know is that if the topic you are struggling with, the topic that causes crippling pain or issues, you don't actually have to digest that and divulge that. You just get to sit in it and clear it without having to be that vulnerable. And then once that vulnerability, that pain gets cleared, you might actually have the ability to process things. But for someone who's just like, I don't even know where to begin, I don't know how to talk or share, or I'm too scared to, this is for you.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I don't talk about that enough on here. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because therapy seems scary. I love that our new generation is more open to it than we've ever been. But it's also because we're struggling through things more than we ever have. And yeah, that's the gift of Splankna is you get to just, I don't know, the gift of healing without having to be agonizing through it.
Yeah. I have had done a session one time where we got brought to like the age that it happened, this trauma, this unknown trauma. We didn't know what we were working on yet, but we got the age and the central emotion. And the emotions are such clues to what you're working on because a bunch of emotions around fear and being left alone and vulnerability are going to paint a very different picture than like anger and defiance and dogmatic position. So you use your emotions as clues to help you figure out what you're working on. But my client said to me, they're like, oh, I think I know what this is, and I don't know if I want to work on it.
Mm.
And I said, well, if it's coming up, it's because the Lord is saying he thinks you're ready for it. So we did some prayer over it, and we said, Lord, like, if we're going to work on this today, like, we need it to be gentle, because it feels like this could take this person over. And I said, okay, think about this event that you're thinking we're working on. And I can kind of test to see if this is the trauma. And it tested as, yep, this is it. And I said, you don't have to tell me what happened at 11 years old. As long as you know, and I know the Holy Spirit knows, I don't have to know.
Yeah.
I will be right here. We can stop at any point if you'd like, but you don't have to talk about it, process it, relive the memories. It was so beautiful to watch the Lord just kindly lift this trauma off of this person like tissue paper off of them.
Yeah.
I'm like,
What a
it
gift.
almost, yes, it almost doesn't even process with me, because it's like you'd think like a life-altering trauma would have to be just as painful to heal it. Like you have to sob your eyes out and be in bed for 2 days afterwards, because it's all coming back to the surface, and it's just not that way. And I think that's one of the things I'm like the most grateful for, is so gentle. It's so kind of the Lord.
Even this person saying, nope, I'm not going there. I don't want to talk about it. The trauma itself was trying to protect her from having to go through it again. But that's the enemy's lies of, no. You need to stay in this because this fights for you. This protects you. You don't go there. We've worked hard to have this shell around it. And the Holy Spirit's like, no. I'd like to remove this so you can live in freedom. And guess what? You're not going to have to feel the pain of it anymore. Like that's just, if that's not a picture of light and darkness right there, being trapped in your trauma versus the gift of light and a gentle removing and healing, it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. See, this is why I love you talk about Splankna like you are a practitioner. You've been around it for so long.
Can I just get an honorary degree? Sarah Thiessen, hook me up.
Oh my gosh, I love it. But you are so right. In trauma, I've already talked about we've shove these memories and these emotions, and they act like raw nerves inside of us. But the spiritual side of it is, in trauma, the enemy kicks us when we're down. He sees like his moment, and he sees that we're desperate and we're lonely and we feel awful about ourselves and we're steeping in shame. And he just like seems like he takes that moment to slide this thing across the table, and it's a lie about who God is or who we are or the world we live in. And it's a lie that if we agree to it in that moment, which we are much more likely to because we're living in trauma at the time, when we partner with that lie, when we believe the lie, like I'm unprotected, I'm destined to be a victim for the rest of my life, nobody loves me, I'm a horrible person, anything like that, when you partner, like it's like the enemy doesn't have any power over Christians unless he can get our agreement on something.
Yeah.
And so these moments of trauma are way more likely moments for us to agree with a lie of the enemy. And that is something we can identify and break in a Splankna session too, which to me is the funnest part, because I like hurting the devil's feelings.
I bet you've got a great comeback for him, Laura, with your mean little quirks.
I am not a rough and tumble kind of person. In a very smiley kind of way, I like to hurt the devil's feelings.
Bye, devil. Bye.
But it's like you are literally ripping up a contract that the enemy slid across the table to you when you were in trauma. And it's had its grip on you for a decade. And it's showing up now in your adult life as dread and fear, or even like sickness in your body, or sadness, all these emotions. You just can't escape this prison of whatever it is. And you rip up this contract and you're like, I'm not going to agree with that lie anymore. I'm going to stand on what the Bible says instead.
Yeah.
Because that lie is like 95% true, but that last 5% that the enemy convinced you of doesn't match up with what God says about you. And so recognizing, oh my gosh, when I was 11 and this thing happened, I started to believe the lie that blank.
Mm.
Just that alone, walking away from a Splankna session with this new understanding of this lie that you started to believe is so validating and powerful. And once you know it's a lie, it stops working on you anymore.
Yeah.
And your authority in Christ, your identity in Christ, knowing who you are because of who your Father in heaven is and what he did for you, the more and more and more you grow in that, the less likely you are to believe the lies of the enemy in the future. So that's why half my Splankna episodes on this podcast are not just telling cool Splankna stories, but like talking about our identity in Christ, our identity as it pertains to our Father in heaven, the value we hold, how to take your thoughts captive, because your thoughts are where the enemy can start to whisper those lies to you and kind of keep you captive. That kind of like beefing your spiritual muscles up is so good to do hand in hand with Splankna work if you have extensive trauma in your history.
We were just talking about this yesterday at work. And, some people's traumas can become their identity. Some people love the pain of their trauma, and that becomes their victim identity, or the pain is more comforting than the healing because of where, life can take with that. But that's a direct lie of the enemy. They want you to be in that misery. They want your identity to be trauma, because on the other side of that, our identity is truly, we are made in the image of God. And that, if we are made in the image of God, then when we are truly healed and free of things, we are the most like him. And if the enemy can skew your identity, he has everything. And if you stay stuck in your trauma, you're not living in your true image of God here on earth. Yeah, the identity of a human being is a bigger thing than we give it credit for, I think, sometimes.
You are absolutely right. It's like everything rests on that. If you don't know your identity, if you think you're worthless, you don't think you're valuable, it will change the person you choose to marry, the friends you put around you, the job you choose, the way you think about the world when you wake up in the morning. It will seep into every part of your life.
Yeah.
So if you're hearing this and you're like, man, I don't know if I know who I am. I don't know if I know who I am, not just because of you, but because of who God says you are. That alone could be an amazing reason to go do some Splankna sessions and just say, I want to know my identity in Christ and I can't access it for some reason. I've heard about it in church a million times. It's not hitting home for me. That is an amazing thing to work on with the Lord. I'm going to have to wrap this up because somehow it's already been 48 minutes, but I'm going to say, I've been meaning to say this, there is one more Splankna core training for the rest of 2025, and it happens in October, which is next month. It's not too late to sign up. You can go to splankna.com and look at all the information. They're hosting it in Denver, Franklin, Tennessee, and Kansas City. It is the most fascinating training I have ever sat through. I do love a conference. I love a training. But this one by far has been my favorite. You will sit classroom style and learn about things you never knew existed. You will meet like-minded people that love Jesus and are passionate about helping people like get breakthrough and not be tied up in life. And you will get chances to practice on other people who are in that training. I highly, highly recommend it. And I will just say we need more practitioners in this country. This is a relatively new protocol. It's only been around for about 26 years. And I get messages every single day on TikTok from people. And they're like, hey, there's not a practitioner in my area. What do I do? So part of my mission with this podcast is just to get the word out so we can increase the number of practitioners that are out there. So Sarah, thank you for being here. You are just so fun to talk with about Splankna. Thank you for believing in at least me in the very beginning to be my very first. Don't tell anybody if it's terrible, but can I practice on you? Honestly, that first session, I had no idea what I was doing. I was so terrified to even practice it. And I didn't even know if I did it right after the first session. And you were like, oh my gosh, I feel better.
Yeah. But also I was starting to feel it too. I'm like, what did I just say yes to? Like I felt that. What was that? But
Yeah.
no. And I appreciate you for pursuing this and persisting in it and putting in the work because man, I've benefited and love that. So thank you.
That's awesome. Hopefully we'll have you on back soon. Maybe one day you'll get trained and you can come on and tell everyone about your experiences as a
You better see
practitioner.
if people like us together on the episode or not before you ask for that.
Oh, I love it. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for being here. We'll be back again next week. We release episodes every Tuesday, so we'll see you back here for the next topic. I don't even know what we're talking about next week yet, but it'll be out. We'll see you later.
Hey, this is Dan Harris, host of the 10% Happier podcast. I'm here to tell you about a new series we're running this September on 10% Happier. The goal is to help you do your life better. The series is called Reset. It's all about hitting the reset button in many of the most crucial areas of your life. Each week, we'll tackle a topic like how to reset your nervous system, how to reset your relationships, how to reset your career. We're going to bring on top-notch scientists and world-class meditation teachers to give you deep insights and actionable advice. It's all delivered with our trademark blend of skepticism, humor, credibility, and practicality. 10% Happier is self-help for smart people. Come join the party.